then, it's that time of the year again. Premier League prediction time. Every man in the cat has done it. Look at all of these videos as well. So I thought I'd put my sense in, and we all know that James is big brain plays over here, and my ball knowledge is completely different to all of these other bums. All I'm going to say is I think a little bit outside of the box, and my champions are not Manchester City. I'm just going to tell you that right now. So Man City fans, if there are any of you, there doesn't really seem to be many of you, I'm very, very sorry. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Oh yes, good old tier maker back again. Honestly, I feel like the worst YouTuber out there right now. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I always love to start with the relegation candidates. Now, finishing dead last, I'm going for Wolverhampton Wanderers. They've sold all of their best players. João Moutinho's gone, Ruben Neves has gone, Julian Lopetegui, he's a great manager, don't get me wrong, but they have no money, no one's going to come in and save them, and they've only made one signing who was on loan last season. They are screwed. I'm sorry, Wolves fans. Tell me down below how badly screwed you are, because I was reading about your financial situation as well. You haven't got a pot to piss in, lads. So I'm going for Wolves dead last. It can't be anyone else. Next, I'm going for the greasy chip eating butties men, aka Sheffield United. Now, they have got manager Paul Heckingbottom, who seems decent at championship level. I'm not too sure about him. Not many of their squad has played in the Premier League. The only people I can think of is like Ryan Brewster potentially. Iliman Ndiaye, is he going to stay? Is he going to leave? Similar to Wolves though, they haven't actually got that much money. The players they've brought in are, while they could potentially be good, they are very unproven. And I'll be real, I don't see that grit or determination in the Sheffield United squad. So for that reason, I've put them in 19th. We'll move them like that. And finally, in the 18th spot, the final relegation zone place, I have gone for Nottingham Forest. Now, Nottingham Forest, so far, they've brought in Ola Aina and Anthony Elanga, and I just get a little bit of a vibe of a second season syndrome from them. They barely just survived last season and needed about 50 odd players to do so. They spent a lot of money, and FFP will be right up their arse, especially with the players that they have lost. Steve Cooper, while I think he's a great manager, I'm not too sure on his methodology. There are talks that Brennan Johnson might be leaving the club to whether it's Brentford, whether it's to Villa, who knows? If they lose him and potentially keyman Morgan Gibbs-White, Forest might be screwed because they're the only two players that actually do anything for them. So I've gone for them to get relegated, which would be great for me. I'd absolutely love it. F Forest, just putting that out there right now. So my three relegation candidates are a little bit Wolves you wouldn't expect, but if you are a Wolves fan, you probably do expect. Sheffield United and Forest are pretty simple, really. Now, potentially another semi-unpopular one here. I'm going to go for Crystal Palace at 17th. So Palace have lost Wilfried Zaha, their key man, who basically kept them in the Premier League for how many years? I had a look at the team. It's really not that good. Elise is said to be leaving as well, with Chelsea and Manchester City monitoring his situation. Now, if he leaves, dunzo. I'm sorry, Palace fans. It's dunzo for you. However, I think he may just survive. HLT CEO, I'm sorry, pal. If you're watching this, I'm sorry, mate. They brought in Jefferson Lerma, who's a good midfielder, but I'm a little bit worried for them. They need to reinvest money now. Next up, I've gone for Everton. Now, Everton literally survived by the skin of their teeth last season. Abdoulaye Doucouré, what a man. Now, Everton have actually brought in some decent money. They've brought in 39 million euros with Moise Kean leaving, Ellis Sims and Niels Nkunku. They have, however, lost Yerry Mina and Tom Davies, but they've brought in Arnaud Danjuma on a loan deal. He's pretty good. We saw it at Tottenham last season. And the reason I've put Everton here is all because of Sean Dyche. Big Brexit, Burnley football. That might be the worst impression of Sean Dyche ever. Shall I do it again? I just think he built such a solid team up and solid defensive line, and they're not going to concede that many goals. Yes, they might not score loads of goals, but they don't need to score loads of goals. I can see Everton just picking up loads of 1-0 wins, and I see them not comfortably surviving, but surviving. So in 15th spot, I've gone for Luton Town. Now, I think every nan and their cat has put Luton Town at 20th. I don't think so. I think this is controversial take. I think Luton Town stay out comfortably in the Premier League. Why? Grit. Nothing else. They are the grittiest, most solidest team going. They've brought in some decent players. Tahith Chong is a baller. Mads Anderson, great centre-back. Ogbene's a good winger. Marvellous Nakamba back from Villa. He was on loan last season. A key man for them. They've also brought in Issa Kabor from Man City. Now, Luton Town were not a good team in the Championship, but the reason they were where they were is because of how hard they fought. Now, we see lots of teams come up to the Premier League, spend a load of money on these fancy, flashy players. A lot of them come straight back down. However, if they keep the core of the Championship team like Luton have and added just a sprinkling of new quality talent, a lot of the times they do pretty well. Now, 5 weeks into the season, they might be dead last and conceded like 54 goals. But I'm willing to take that risk where no man or woman has gone before and say Luton Town comfortably stay up in the Premier League. Do you guys think they stay up in the Premier League? If you're liking this video so far, make sure you smash a like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Next, I'm going for Fulham FC in 14th this is. I think Fulham are a good team. I think they've got a good manager in Marco Silva, who has rejected Al Hilal's bid of £40 million over 2 years. I really highly rate Marco Silva. Great manager. They are, however, losing Mitrovic, but they bought in Raul Jimenez on a 5.5 million transfer from Wolves. Is he going to do bits? I have no idea. It's a bit of a risk there. They keep Polina. I think they stay comfortably in the Premier League. There isn't really much else to say about Fulham, to be honest. Another slightly controversial one is I've got Bournemouth as 13th, which is practically mid-table. I really like the way Bournemouth have spent their money. They got took over last season, brought in some quality little players, but coming into this season, whoa, they have stepped it up a notch. Milan Kirchej, he looks pretty good. Justin Kluivert's pretty good. Radu is a pretty good player, as well as Hamad Traore, who they had last season. They're still looking at getting some more players in. I think Bournemouth, they'll be a comfortable team. They've got a brand new manager who is highly rated in Spain, regarded as somehow one of the greatest managers there is in the world football at the moment. So it's a high coup. I think a solid mid-table season this season. Now for 12th spot, I've gone for West Ham. Bazinga is absolutely loving it right now. They will be in Europa League qualification. No, they'll be in the Europa League because they won the title last season. I do think it's going to be another mid-table season for them. Obviously, they've lost key man Declan Rice. Now that hole is a big one to fill, but they got paid £105 million. So really, they should fill it. They're in talks to get Conor Gallagher, but as of yet, they've signed nobody. But I just get that vibe from West Ham this summer that they mean business. And I think they'll invest that money pretty good to the point that West Ham potentially there could be a late Europa League push. But for now, I want to put them at 12. Next up, we have gone for Brentford, the Bees. Now, obviously, Ivan Toney, Mr. Elijah, I bet Ivan Toney, he is banned for, I think, the first couple months. I think it's till like December. So without key man striker. Now, Brentford do bring in some pretty good players. So, for example, they've brought in Nathan Collins, who I rate highly. I think he's a bit of a baller. Mark Flecken, highly rated Dutch goalkeeper from Freiburg. They've also bought his teammate, Kevin Schade. 25 million euros for him. A lot of money, that. Is he good? To be honest, I have no idea. If Ivan Toney was still at Brentford for like the start of the season, I'd probably have sneaked them in at 7th. I just think it's one step too far for them this year, however. I think under Thomas Frank's a wonderful manager, probably the most underrated manager like in world football right now. I think it's another solid mid-table season for Brentford. Definitely not going down. Next, we've gone for Burnley. Now, Vizza is absolutely loving life right now because Burnley are actually good. I have no idea. The manager literally wears a snapback on the last setting because his head's so big. But how well do they play football? It's simply superb at times. And they've come into this season and they mean business. They've signed James Trafford, Zeki Amoudani, who's a Swiss wonderkid. Even players like Nathan Redmond, Jordan Bayer, Mikel Obafemi. Quality little players. And the style of play that they play is pretty good. Low-key, I think Burnley, they could teeter on that Europe as well. Next, we're going for Brighton. Now, Brighton was the surprise of last season for everybody. This season, however, I don't think that they will achieve like they did last season. I think Brighton will stay up comfortably. I think they'll do okay in Europe. They've got some wonder kids. Seem to be spawning them out of nowhere. Bought in Joao Pedro, Igor, Bart Verbruggen, Mahoud Dahoud. So some good players there. However, I feel the teams above them have strengthened just that little bit more. So for that reason, I've gone for an 11th finish for Brighton. Now, Spurs fans, I am terribly sorry, but you're finishing 8th. Yeah, you're not getting Europe next season, boys. Just forget about it, pal. While you've brought in some solid players, James Maddison, quality signing, Dejan Kulusevski, Vicario, and Manor Solomon, Harry Kane looks set to leave. A Harry Kane-less Spurs, honestly, could probably get relegated, I'll be honest. I don't think it'll be that bad, though, boys. I don't think it'll be that bad. I just don't think Spurs will be all that next season. I'm happy to be proved wrong, but I just don't see it with them. I'm sorry, boys. If you are a Spurs fan, firstly, tell me, do you think Harry Kane stays? Yes or no? And secondly, where do you guys finish next season? I'm actually a little bit interested about that one. Now, going into the UCL/UEL qualification, we've gone for Newcastle in 7th. Now, they did qualify for the Champions League. They've brought in Sandro Tonali and Harvey Barnes. Quality players there. However, they have a very small squad. And I think, especially with the Champions League mixed in there, I think it's going to be pretty tough for them to be able to compete at 100% every single game. I think they just need a couple more players of real star-studded quality, and you could push Champions League, potentially even champions, and win the whole thing. Right now, Newcastle, they're in 7th. All my Birmingham fans will either be very happy or very not happy with me putting Villa at 6th. Some of you might think you deserve to top 4. Don't think you're quite there yet, but you're getting on your way. Villa under Unai Emery last season were like a whole different animal. Ollie Watkins has gone from a bum striker in a relegation team to literally being the reincarnation of R9, all in the space of a few months. Mr. Good Evening has absolutely transformed it to the point he somehow convinced a French international, a Belgium international, and a Spanish international to go to Birmingham. Of all places, bloody Birmingham. Rumours that they're in for Brennan Johnson as well. Think they've got a quality team. I'm low-key kind of excited to see Villa play, even though they did beat us in 2019 playoff final and pretty much killed my club. Cheers, lads. Yeah, cheers. Other than that, Villa are pretty good. Now, the team that everyone thought could potentially win the league this season, I'm going to put them in 5th. It's Arsenal. Robbie from AFTV is absolutely fuming right now. Mr. DT is screaming at me. Ty is telling me that the pitch is wet. No one cares. Look, I like Arsenal and all that. Yeah, they've brought in Declan Rice. Yeah, they've brought in Jurrien Timber. Yeah, they've brought in Kai Havertz. It's a lot of money for him as well, especially with how poor he is, really. I just get the vibe Arsenal on about it. The way that they finished last season and the disappointment, I have a massive, massive fear that it's actually just going to carry over into this season. I hope not, and I hope to be proven wrong. However, Arsenal fans, I'm sorry, it's not looking good for you guys. Gone for 5th, you get the Europa League, which is solid. Now, top 4. We've gone for Manchester United. We love the way Manchester United play. They've brought in Starboy Mason Mann. I think they are going to clinch Champions League. They got Champions League last season as well. They've got a good squad. They've gotten rid of that clowning goal, David De Gea, and they've got Andre Onana in instead. However, he did get absolutely dunked on by Jude Bellingham the other day, but we forget about that, okay? Just brush past it. I think Ten Hag, quality manager. I think their defense, solid. Midfield, very good. Attack, a little bit weak. I'd like them to bring in a top tier striker. They're interested in Rasmus Højlund. If they get him, definitely that top 4 push, potentially champions push is on. Right now, 4th. 3rd, I've gone for Liverpool, which is pretty good. Last season was a bit of a dodgy one for them, but they've brought in Alexis McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai with a decent amount of wage budget and transfer funds out of the club. Honestly, I can see Liverpool reinvesting that pretty good, and I think Liverpool may be back for next season. I've gone for a 3rd place finish next season, and you're probably noticing there is 2 teams. One team that is mid-table or finished mid-table last season, and I'll tell you now that they don't come 2nd, because 2nd, I'm going for Manchester City. Now, Manchester City had a record-breaking season last season. They got the treble, the Champions League, Premier League, and the FA Cup. Brought in Mateo Kovacic, big baller. However, key man Ilkay Gundogan has left the club. Riyad Mahrez about to leave. Bernardo Silva about to leave. Laporte wanting to leave. Lots of these players wanting to leave. The squad already is paper thin. A lot of last season, the bench was made up of youngsters. Now, don't get me wrong. The youngsters at City, they are still top quality players. However, I don't think that the squad's actually big enough to win the treble next season. Pep Guardiola, wonderful wonderful manager. Great manager, in fact. I just think Man City are kind of spreading themselves a little bit too thin. Obviously, if they get Elise and players in of that quality, then yeah, the table's probably going to change. But for right now, I'm putting Chelsea as the champions. Yeah. They finished 12th last season, but there's method in my madness. Please, just bear with me. Hear me out at least. Before you start typing away, Chelsea are shit, blah, 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 blah. Just hear me out. Just hear me out. They ain't got any Europe for next season. They've sold a lot of their deadwood / players that were causing issues in the dressing room. And they've brought in a quality forward in Nkunku and also Nicholas Jackson, with players like Levi Colwill coming back into the frame and players like Mudryk potentially stepping up, having gained some experience, looking really, really sharp in pre-season. I'm gonna be honest, I see Chelsea winning it all, and I'm gonna put my hands up. I'm probably the only person so far to put Chelsea as anywhere near the top 4. Everyone else has probably put them as a basket case of the club, mid-table, potentially Europa League. I think Chelsea go on and win it next year. Mauricio Pochettino, quality manager, worked with some of the best players in world football, and I don't know, I just get a vibe about Chelsea that they're gonna do bits next season. Everyone's laughed at them. Everyone's laughed at them enough, but they're gonna do a Batman type of like villain arc and go through and just stomp the league next season. But what do I know? I'm just a poor old YouTuber that has no money, no friends, nothing in life. Tell me your guys' thoughts down below. One player that's definitely making a move this summer is Kylian Mbappe. Now check this video out that I made about him. Please, it's only on like 300 views. Also like and subscribe because that helps fuel the algorithm. I need it because I need money because I'm a broke boy. But boys, have a wonderful rest of the day, and girls, because there's 15% of you are female. So I love you all. I say boys too much. I'm very, very sorry. Have a good day anyway.